AI is reshaping the retail industry as we know it, where artificial intelligence isn't just a tool, it's a game changer.
Who have joined us before and not really coming in for the first time, I think you kind of know what it looks like. And I think I can see from the numbers that we do have a big crowd that's used to coming and joining us at this time. But otherwise, for those that are new and are not really used to this Flash Talk, I think it's just a short live podcast version whose purpose is literally just to give some sharp insights of what professionals can consume on the go, essentially during your lunchtime break. We won't take much of your time, 10 to 15 minutes max, of just some digestible, such as an espresso shot, if you like, of insight. And we'll talk about, of course, different trending topics around that. Today, we've got a good, awesome, wonderful speaker, magnificent. His name is Alistair. Alistair has worked in various capacities in multiple verticals from retail, manufacturing. He's worked in the government, spanning 50 to 50,000 users and utilizing all aspects of pure enterprise information management. His current role as a Microsoft Security and M365 Apps and Services MVP in South Africa provides him with a mechanism to assist companies with designing their cloud collaboration environment using best of breed. Now, it is with this vision that he strives to provide customers with a platform for business productivity enrichment. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Alistair. And if you do have questions as he goes along, please just type them in the chat and we'll deal with them when he's done. Alistair, your floor, sir.
Good afternoon. Thanks, Ronald, for that introduction. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me on the show. How this all started is friends reached out and said, could you have a conversation about where agentic AI is going and how it actually impacts agentic e-commerce? And that's really what today's Flash Talk is going to be about. So let me grab some slides, walk you through that from a positioning perspective, what all of this actually looks like, and then we'll take some questions, stick it in the chat, and we'll have a conversation near the end, or Ronald will field that. Agentic commerce, right? Everyone should be used to AI, or at least some form of GPT. You've all seen it. You've all used it. OpenAI, ChatGPT, everyone's got a flavor of it that you probably use today. And you've even seen how Google has changed their interface. Normally, we would go to the Google search box on our phone and actually type in Levi 501 Cape Town, right? I want to pair 501 Levi's, and I want to know where the stores are. That would be our traditional search. In the old days, it would render a screen up with HTML links, or at least links to URLs to take you to the site. Now you're getting a knowledge-based answer, right? You ask it a natural language query question, and it responds to you as if you were speaking to a human. That's how Google's changed their search experience. And we started seeing this probably about 2 years ago. Because of that, the world's also shifting towards this agentic experience. And today's conversation is to really look at how AI agents, agents is just an assistant doing things on your behalf or doing things for you, right? How agents are actually reshaping the way we shop. Essentially, I like shopping. I bought stuff on Prime Day, Amazon US, when it was Prime Day about 2 weeks ago. So I get it. And, after looking at this topic, it did come up and like, have I changed the way I actually work? Or at least I, in my personal capacity, shop online. What does it mean when I actually do this? So over the next 15 minutes, we're going to look at what it is, what is agentic commerce or agentic e-commerce, and in traditional language, so that you understand that. Why is it important now? What's happening in the market, trends that we're already seeing, how the shift is being adopted, what this journey actually looks like, why do you care about it, what to do if you work in specific industries, and then also, one question that you should be taking back if you're in the marketing world or you in the e-commerce world, what you need to take back to your team if you haven't already begun the shift or at least started the journey to moving across to agentic commerce. Make sense? I don't see any, hold on, there's a public chat somewhere. Nothing yet in the chat, but that's all good. All right, so let's carry on. So what is agentic e-commerce, right? Or what is agentic commerce? Exactly what it sounds like, right? E-commerce, what do? We go to Takealot, or we go to Amazon, or we go to a search engine and we type in there, hey, I'm looking for product X, or I'm looking for a type of product. Show me 55-inch TVs, or show me LG 55-inch TVs. I'm that old that I still remember who LGs are, right? And the way retailers would build their websites, be it a static website or an e-commerce website, would be so that they'd appear in the top of the list from a search perspective, and also they could purchase ads where it would show on the top and it'd say sponsored for you 10-inch rack, right? The last thing I searched for, actually. So that's what we are used to doing when it comes to buying things online, not walking into a mall and actually taking something off a rack, trying it on and walking out after we've paid for it. The change, however, is that how we find information has changed. That's the important part. And e-commerce is just part of how we actually find information. I use multiple agentic platforms or AI platforms, Claude, Copilot, Perplexity. I've even got my own AI running in my lab. Currently, when I do online research, I would go into Perplexity. Today, I did that when looking at 3D printers, because there's a new 3D printing brand being launched in South Africa, and I wanted to compare it to the Crealities and the Bamboos of the world. I literally did that today. Give me the statistics, tell me what it costs, and then traditionally, I would move from that into where is it available? Click on the link, go to Takealot, or go to some 3D printing website, select the item, add to cart, swipe the card, put in my CVV number, give it a delivery address, and then I leave, right? As soon as I've paid for it, I wait for a delivery to show up. Takealot's delivering to me today. Now, where all of this is going, that's the first part of the shift, right? I'm no longer the person doing the research. I'm not staring at the screens, right? I use an agent to give me that information and also recommend things to me, specifically around compare 3 different 3D printers and then give me a table and break it down for me based on the features. That's what I'm doing. But we are seeing the shift towards, well, if I gave AI the permission to use my credit card details, could it do this on its own, right? Log into the site, place the order on my behalf. So I would never have to open up a website. I'd open up my phone, go to my AI choice of AI application choice of my AI application platform of choice, and communicate with it that way. And I would never have to browse the website. So that's where it's going, right? That's where we're going. You would have a personal assistant, a concierge of sorts that does everything for you on your behalf. That's the promise of all of these things. And when we actually look at what it means for the world, is that websites no longer matter, right? If you think about it realistically, are we still going to go to Takealot? Or are we just going to use an agent to go find things on Takealot and give us a number? Here's the budget. Here's 1,000 Rand I want to spend on a nice new pen to write with. Go find me one and let me know which one is the best one. And then after I've given you the approval, you can order it. So I never have to touch a website. Right? And why does it matter now? And it's vitally important we understand this. It's because it's not just me. I think with the launch of ChatGPT, about 3 years ago, everyone has got some form of AI on their person. When I mean on their person, on their desktop, on their mobile phone, on their tablet, we're all using it. AI is now being baked into the number one tool used to browse the internet, which is your phone. Gemini on Android, Siri, we've just seen the Apple updates from what Siri is going to be able to do on your device of choice. And it's Android and iOS, right? The Apple ecosystem. We're already changing the way we search. And if you look at it statistically, 45% of the buying journey is now managed by AI because they help you do the research, right? You don't just randomly go buy something. From a growth perspective, we've seen this. From a research perspective, how AI is doing all the research when you want to buy a product, which is the big thing. And AI is actually not even, they're looking at reviews or comments on Reddit, and they're providing you that information back to you. And I mean, AI can talk to you anyway. And we know companies like Shopify and Etsy are already starting to bake AI into their platforms as well, because the world believes that this is how we're going to interact with, I'm not going to say intelligence, but how we are actually going to interact with the internet. Is it really going to be through a browser, or are we going to do everything through an agent or an assistant on our devices? Speak to Ego or Hermes or Jarvis. So it's important to understand, where the world is going. So what we actually need to start doing is how we shape and build things, right? Like I explained earlier on, I would give a goal or a budget to an agent like Perplexity or AI like Perplexity, and I tell it to go and do research on, I want to spend 1,000 Rand on a nice new fountain pen for my desk, right? Literally, what that agent would do is it should go scan all the retailers in real time, comparing availability, price, the delivery options. Is it local? Is it in another city? Is it in another country? What does that look like? And then also, provide that information back to me. And if I gave it permission to use my card, that is exactly what it needs to do, right? So I literally give it a set of instructions, a request, and it goes and it does it, and I just wait for it to tell me when it's being delivered. Like Takealot sends you an SMS. No longer are we going to have that. Takealot's not going to send me an SMS. My agent is going to literally go, hey, Al, that delivery, it's on its way. Please make sure that you're available between these times to accept the delivery. Or even tell me that the delivery is at my door if I've got my Ring doorbell hooked up to my agent. Right? So this is where the world is going today when it comes to agentic commerce. And what is actually changing for marketers and retailers, right? In very much the same way that you are getting a different response, a knowledge-based answer from Google, right? It's a paragraph describing the request that you have. We need to change the way the platforms are actually working. So Takealot is going to need to change how their platform works. From a user experience perspective, also, that user experience needs to change when it comes to supply chain, right? The way your data is rendered back to some sort of agentic search, yeah? Again, also, you need to make sure that whatever you're building, there's the necessary guardrails in place, both for marketers who are marketing specific services and retailers, as well as the people building the back end to facilitate this. You might find, and there's two parts to this. One is the retailers and the marketers that are actually building the solutions that or changing the platforms, the e-commerce platforms to talk to AI, and it's the people building the AI, from a guardrails perspective. Am I going to give AI my credit card details? Very scary thing, right? And then from a marketing perspective, if your platform doesn't support AI, are you even relevant? Like in the 90s when everyone had to build an internet site, because if you weren't on the internet, are you even real, right? And in typical fashion, we're going to start seeing that come through. So things to do now, because I've got like 2 minutes left. Things to do now are our recommendations to people that work in e-commerce. If you've got a website and you're doing some drop shipping, or if you've got a website and you're selling products online, and it's connected to Shopify or Magento, pick a backend that manages all of these things, you are going to have to start thinking about making changes to the structure. For those that haven't heard the term SEO, search engine optimization, we now have an AEO, AI engine optimization, right? So all of those things are changes. So number one, you're going to need to make sure that, well, the easiest way is to open your API or build an MCP into your e-commerce platform, and then make it consumable that way. But traditionally, you would have to change the way everything is stored and structured inside of your platform. You don't have to listen to me. There's a whole bunch of tools available online that will take you through this entire journey. From a discovery perspective, it's not only SEO, it's AEO, or whatever they're calling it today, so that agents can actually find data, right? Your data, specifically the way you structure things, the ways you do meta tag editing and all of those things, or for search engine optimization, you're going to have to do the same thing for AI. Write APIs and e-commerce services, I spoke about that as well. So when the agent interacts with you, perfect. You've got an MCP or you've got some sort of endpoint that it can hit. Build a consistent data governance. You're going to have to bake that into some of the payment guardrails and the gateways that you have. Payment gateways are also going to have to be updated. There are certain banks in South Africa that has an API. So if you wanted to go fetch your financial data out of the bank, you can do that. So there is a shift. Banks are using AI from that perspective. And then lastly, from a user experience perspective, and also from a commerce perspective, marketing is going to also need to be told about these things, because your primary interface is not a browser anymore. It's an application that humans can talk to that goes and fetches things. So really, the customer journey's changed. We don't need to see fancy pictures in a browser, you targeting that new cut of Levi's or G-Stars. It's changing. We're sitting in some sort of chat thing, and you can talk directly to it. You don't just have to type anymore. So you need, as a marketer or retailer, to make sure that the infrastructure that your e-commerce platform runs on top of can support the findability of your catalog via AI. Go back and have that conversation with your organization if you do host any form of e-commerce, because the wave is coming. It's already here. People are going to start using Gemini on Samsung phones or any Android phone. I've got a Xiaomi. So people are going to start using that, and you're going to have to make sure that your platform supports that. And that's it in a nutshell. That's my 15 minutes of fame. Back to you, Ronald.
My gosh, I'm probably not as well versed with all these things as you are. But I just got a question as I'm waiting up. Just try for everybody that's watching, you can ask your questions. Please just type them in the chat, and then I'll just hand them over to Alistair whilst we are here. But my question, Alistair, is just in terms of the shift. How fast do you think this shift is taking place? To this agentic commerce. And should we be rushing in like fools, like Elvis sang, or should we take it nice and slow, perhaps watch and learn first? What would be your advice on this?
My advice to people consuming AI, get used to consuming AI. And my advice to e-commerce vendors, platforms, any retailer out there that has a website that sells online, they need to start doing it now. Because this is the fastest growing and changing ecosystem that the world has ever seen in the history of the world. This is the next evolution. We talked about industrial revolutions and all of those things, steam trains and the internet and all of that. This one does not conform to any standards like Moore's law. Every 3 months, AI changes completely. Completely. We don't wait 3 years. There's no wait here. So if you haven't started, you're already behind.
Yeah. All right. No, that's interesting to hear. I think my second one, you did touch on it a bit earlier on AEO, almost being the commensurate or the equal version of SEO as we've known it all along. But I just want to find out, do you think there's an opportunity therefore to almost plug in our adverts into this AI space? Like what Google Ads used to be like. Is it something that can be doable so that when AI, you ask these questions, a client, potential customer asks something, that we can then recommend from the word go our products over the others?
I do think as agentic platforms, or your GPTs, your chat GPTs, whatever GPT you use today, currently the free versions is probably going to get ads, but it's going to be Google that owns Gemini that's going to start pushing ads through the front end, right? You've got that little chat window and you start talking to it, and then it's going to respond with an ad. I do think because AI is expensive, and these vendors, AI vendors, are going to start doing something like that. The paid for version, it's the same like YouTube, right? The free version, you get ads. The paid for version, you don't get ads. And I do believe AI vendors are going to go that way to supplement the expense, because AI, for every $1 they make, they're spending $3 on running the AI. And eventually it'll come down. But yes, I do think that advertising is going to come to an AI space, like everything, right? It's going to be there.
So Skynet has arrived, in other words. I've got a question in the chat box here from
There is a
Emmanuel.
question in the chat, yeah.
Yes, yes,
Do you
yes.
want
It
me to
says
read it?
AI is... Go for it. If you can see it, go for it. Go for it.
AI is the route everything is taking. Where do you see us in the next 5 years? How is this going to affect professionals without AI knowledge? And it's the question, right? There's a lot of doomsayers around AI and where AI is taking us. What AI is going to do to white collar workers, right? Junior people no longer going to have jobs and those sorts of things. Emmanuel, the biggest thing for me is, and I was chatting to a mate of mine early on as well. There's going to be a split in the world. Those who know how to work with AI and those who don't. Your job today, if you are a parent or you're a kid without any kids, is to learn how to use AI. AI is a big shift. It's not going to replace you, and AI is not going to replace you. Someone using AI is going to replace you. That's what's going to happen. It's impossible to... It will destroy the economy if we just switched people off. There's no universal basic income. The Anthropics and the open AIs of the world, the Sam Altmans and I forget the Anthropic guy talking about a universal basic income. We're not there yet. But we are seeing that AI as a platform, technology, reduces your time to value. That's what it does. So you need to start using AI to help you do things faster. That means a better quality of life, less work in 10 to 12 hours. That for me is the big shift, before worrying about, is it going to replace me? In certain instances, companies are no longer hiring developers. They'll have one developer and they give him a token budget instead of having 3 developers. So these things, there is a change. But you, Emmanuel, learn how to use AI and you'll have a job. If you don't, you're not going to have a job, because that's going to be a skill.
All right, thank you for that. And I think just the final one from my side, Alistair. Any privacy concerns? I mean, obviously what we're uploading onto the AI, we kind of give it to them as well. So are we concerned essentially about, feeding too much personal information into that might, who knows how it might be used in the future?
Ronald, are you in social media?
I've tried to almost limit my exposure to that exactly because of that question over there.
Yeah. So nothing on the internet is ever deleted. Put that out there. I'm not even talking about the dark web. I'm just talking about the internet. Security concerns. There's 2 parts to that. There's your personal information being used to train the language model. If you've got a free version of any AI tool, so you went to chatgpt.com and you logged in and you started using it, they have whatever you've pumped into it, they've used it to train the model. The end. Your data is exposed. How much data? Don't load the credit card details into AI. Please don't do that. Personally identifiable information, if you're on the internet, you're on the internet. You're scrolling through TikTok, everyone knows who you are and what you're doing.
Sure.
I think Twitter, X, Facebook, LinkedIn, all the same thing.
Yeah,
they have your data. What are they going to do with your data? This is not identity theft security, right? Nobody's going to steal your identity or use your face to create videos, right? Because that technology exists as well. I think the big AI companies, the Anthropics, the Googles, the Amazons, the Microsofts of the world, are all banded together to make sure that AI is secure and responsive. Just bear in
Sure.
mind that you've got AI for good and AI for bad.
Yeah.
Just like social
I think-
media, it's the same thing.
Yeah, there's a follow-up almost regarding that. I'll just use that as the last, so we kind of wrap this up from Pubegani, who says, thank you for the wonderful knowledge. What is the impact of agentic commerce on data privacy? I think it kind of links to what I've just asked earlier on, bearing in mind that the sellers have to comply with privacy standards such as GDPR and PCI DSS, something that you probably know. I don't know what that stands for.
And it's a great question. It's a great question. So when we look at stuff like GDPR, POPI, patient health information, HIPAA, when it comes to health records, and then also PCI DSS, which is data controllers and data processors, right? PCI DSS applies to credit card details, right? So from a processing or a controller perspective, it's really, if you store the data, you have to worry about it. That's why retailers don't care, because they don't, because it's a payment gateway. Yes, when it comes to data privacy, data residency, and data sovereignty, we as South African citizens need to adhere to our version of GDPR is the POPI Act. Yeah. So the right to be disputed, the right to be forgotten, it applies to anything that gets run in South Africa. Because it's an act and it's not a regulation like the GDPR is, you can't enforce it. You can't force people to do it. And Anthropic, if it's not locally available, Microsoft stuff is local, Anthropic is out of the country. They're in America. They don't have to adhere to any of your laws. So data privacy out the window. Probably the most secure, and it depends on personal AI or business AI. If you are a customer and you're wanting to consume AI securely, go and look at Microsoft AI, because your data lives inside of a tenant, and that's the guardrails. But using something like Anthropic or Google, it lives outside of that, right? And it's processed out of the country. So you don't have data sovereignty and data residency rules in country apply to that, as much as they say they do. So from an e-commerce perspective, the rules are there anyway for where how data is processed and how data is stored. This is just someone else acting on your behalf, your concierge, and it's going to be how much information you give it. So you take on the responsibility. You are saying, sure, here's my name, surname, email address, ID number, bank account details. You have it. You given permission. It's like if you get into a bus and you take a bus from point A to point B and there's an accident, workman's compensation, yes, but the minute you walk into that bus, you accept liability.
Sure.
And yeah, yes.
That makes sense.
So, yeah.
All right. No, thanks, Alistair. I've just posted your link for your LinkedIn page for those who might want to continue the conversation offline. Otherwise, I think I just want to thank you on behalf of the IMM Institute. Thank you very much for your presentation. Short, impactful, powerful, and I think very insightful as well. I just want to thank everybody that managed to attend as well, to log in. Appreciate your time. Appreciate, this short podcast, if you like, that we've just been on, and hopefully insightful as well for you. Otherwise, that's a link in the chat box. Do connect with Alistair. And good afternoon, everybody. See you in the first Friday of next month. Adios.
Cheers. Thank you very much.